Hi all, this is Kevin and welcome to my tutorial on chapter 11 in the Severance Python book, and this is exercise 4, and this is yet another exercise that I dreamed up that's not in the book per se. Here's the skill that we're trying to learn. We want to use the find all function that's part of the regular expressions package, the RE package, and we want to use that to match a pattern that we find in some kind of input file, and we want to extract the value, but we don't want to extract the whole value. We want to extract a subset of the characters. And on top of that, we want to use non-greedy matching. Okay, and I've come up with a pretty good use case for this. And the example we're going to use here is I've taken a web page from the iSchool website. And what I did is I went to the page and I stole the text for the adjunct instructors page as of today when I'm recording this. And it's called adjunct.aspx. And so I've copied that, and I'm going to give you a copy of it that you can use because you're going to use the same data for your exercise. And here's what we want to do. We want to analyze the HTML, okay? Because underneath every ASPX page is an HTML page. And what do we want to do? Well, the first thing is we want to count the total characters on the page, and we want to print out that. And then we want to look for every href attribute. Now, the href attribute has the URL that is going to be pointed to, typically in a link tag and a tag. So an A element in HTML has an href attribute. And what we want to do is we want to find that, and we want to extract the value that's between the quote marks of the href attribute and just print each of those link URLs on its own line. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to import RE. And this is going to be a pretty conventional program. We're going to define a main. And let's just make it empty with a pass for right now. And we're only going to run this as a main program, so we don't have to do any if test. Okay, this isn't something you would import into anything else. Okay, and what's the first thing that we're going to do? Well, let's prompt to get the file name. Okay, so what's it going to be? Well, let's put the name into the variable inFileName. And let's assign it the value that we get from input. And then the prompt is going to be, please enter the input file name. Whoop, in quotes. Please enter the input file name. Okay, and then we have a space. And I want to skip a line before I print out something else. So I just want to put a backslash in there. All right, well, let's give that a test. It's already testable. Okay, so we're going to run that. And let's see what we have here. Please enter the input file name. And then it doesn't do anything at all after that. It's dead. Can I stop it? Well, keyboard interrupt. Oh. I did stop it. No, we have to actually give it to it. Some days. Okay, run it again. I'm ready this time. please enter the input file name. So we're going to type in adjuncts ASPX. Okay, and that did not blow up. That's good. Okay, so we enter that. What's the next thing we're going to do? Well, we're going to open it. So we need a variable to hold the reference to the file object, which is called in file. And we're going to assign the object that we get back from the open function. And we're going to pass it the in file name. And we're going to pass it an R, lowercase r, to say that we want to read it. Okay? And I'm going to assume that if that works, we're not going to blow up. So that's a testable too. Let's do a test. So please enter the input file name, adjuncts. Oh, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Adjuncts dot ASPX. And it can't find it. How about that? Oh, it's adjunct.aspx. Okay. Now, the other thing is I don't want to put that new line there because it is going to come out before I type in my value, and that was not what I intended. So I'll take care of that, wanting to skip a line in a bit. Okay, so I've hopefully undone all the damage. Let's run another test. Okay, it's adjunct.aspx. Okay, and that ended. It didn't blow up. If we weren't able to open the file, we would have seen it croak on us, and it did not croak. Croak being a technical term of long use, certainly at least 30-40 years. Okay, so what's next? Well, we're going to read the input. You can take a document like this and just read it into one string variable and process it there. And we've done this in other situations before. So I'm going to call the variable entire page. Okay, and I'm going to assign it in file, and I want one of the reads, and the thing that reads the whole file at a time is just read. Okay, so that's it. So now I want to prove to myself that I was able to read it into the variable, and I also have a requirement that I print out the length of the page. So let's print, okay, and let's call the function len on entire page. Okay, so that'll give us the character count. Okay, and let's say characters found on the entire page. Found in the entire page. Okay, so I think that looks good. And didn't I say I wanted to skip a line before that? So I'm just going to do a plain empty print. That'll skip a line for me. All right, so let's give it a run. We're going to run another test, and adjunct .aspx, and we found 75,000 characters. Wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder what's out there. Well, before we actually start to test with it, let's go look at what's out there. So I've got this here. I copied it into my project, as I'll want you to copy it into yours. And I'm going to double click to open it. And it's funny because it has a an extension .aspx, and that's how I was able to download it with one of my handy tools. This, I think I'm using the bigger version of the PyCharm product here, and it says, oh, you know, you can do stuff in the IntelliJ product family. You can do something with these kind of files. Well, I don't care. So don't show again and ignore extension, right? So I've gotten rid of those. Now let's just see what we have. Well, we have an HTML5 page. And it's got lots of fancy stuff, and it goes on and on and on. Does it have any links with hrefs? Oh, sure it does. Let's see, we start up here, we have a leaderboard div, and within that we have an unordered list, and then we've got 3 list items, and then we've got 3 links here, and each link, as is typical, has, here's a link for future students, here's one for current students, here's one for alumni. Okay, so these are 3 that we intend to pick up, okay, and we intend to pick them up by just being able to find this href, okay, and then so the href from here to here, from the beginning of the H until the end of the closing quote, that's what we're going to try to find, okay. And then at first we're just going to let it extract what it finds. So it's going to find this enclosed in href equal quotes, okay. But then eventually what we want to do is want to say, well, no, we just want the values of the hrefs. So eventually you're just going to be looking for what's inside the quotes, okay. Well, this should be fun. Well, at least for me. So here we go. So how are we going to do this? Well, if we're going to use a find all, it's going to return a collection. Well, yeah, in this case, a list collection. So let's say that list is going to be called hrefs. Okay. That's a list of hrefs, and we're going to assign it when we're going to use re.findAll. Okay, and then we're going to have a pattern. Okay, and then the second argument is always the string that we want, and this is a very big string. It's a 75,000 character string, but it's a string all the same. We're just going to pass that entire page. And so now the issue is, what are we trying to match? Okay, so why don't we build this up? Let's just look for href. Okay, let's see how that goes. And then let's so we're going to get a bunch of matches. I'd assume that what we're going to get is a list which just says href, href, href. So let's do a for loop. Okay, so let's say for href and hrefs, that's going to iterate over the list. Print href. Okay. That looks pretty good. So if this works, if we find every instance of the string href, we're just going to get a big long line of them. So let's give it a try. Let's run it. And let's say we're going to do it on adjunct ASPX. Well, looks like we got a few of those. Yeah, there's a lot of them there. So I must say that if we were really trying to be, we we want to say. If we're really trying to do the production version of this, we would want a smaller test page than this. I just thought this would be fun to work with, and so do as I say, not as I do. But do as I do for this one, because it's kind of fun. But you would want to prove to yourself, for instance, that you got all the hrefs, in which case you'd want a fairly small page where you could say, you know, there were 5 of them, and then you look and you got 5. All right. So this is more production data than test data, but it's fun data, and in the interest of having fun, we're going to have fun. Okay. All right, now that's good. Now, we want more than that, I think. Okay, so what do we want? We want to go, well, we want to get href, and then we want to get the equal, and then we want to get the upper quote, and then we want to get the value in the quote, then we want to get the close quote. Okay. Well, let's look at what they look like. I was originally going to do the iSchool homepage, and that just was way too big. But if we look at what some of these things look like, okay, the question is, how many different versions of these things are there? For instance, when we're looking here, well, this is all pretty, this was all generated out of some application like Drupal, right? And so when you look at this, it's pretty tight. It doesn't have a space between the href and the equal, or a space between the equal or the quote mark. But I just want to tell you that legally it can, right? You can say href space equals space the quote, and then have your value and close it with the quote, and that works just fine. Okay, well, let's try to write something that would work even for code that was typed in by hand. Okay. So we're going to where are we going to go? We're coming back here. Sometimes I have a hard time getting back to everything in its own spot. Oh, I think I just did. Okay. Here's exercise 4, and we're back to everything in its own spot. Okay, good. So we want to begin with href. Okay. And let's just be a little naive. Href equals, okay, and then we're going to say a quote, right? And then we're going to want some amount of, I don't think we want any empty links. Okay, so we're going to want at least one character of any type. So let's just say, use the period, because that's the meta character for one character of any type. And we want at least one, so let's say plus. Okay, and then let's say we have an ending quote. And I just want to point out we've got quotes within quotes. This is getting kind of ugly. Okay, so one way to simplify this, I've simplified this a number of ways, but one way to do, because Python doesn't really care if you enclose things in apostrophes or quotes. Let's put apostrophes along the outside. So that's going to make sense, right? Okay, well, it looks pretty good. Now, let's see what kind of possibilities we have. Are these quote marks really going to work? Well, no, they're not. Okay, because actually they might work, because we don't have to worry about escaping them in the Python now. So let's just take a look. They might actually work. Let's see. So let's run a test. And again, adjunct.aspx. Well, you know what? They did work. And they're working pretty well. All right. They're working pretty well, except we got some issues. And it looks like it at some issues. I mean, we've got some that work great, right? That's just what we want at this point. Eventually, we want to extract less, but that won't be too hard to do. We'll use the parens to do that, okay? But on this line, one of the things that is interesting when you read the yeah, because we read this all into one variable, and because it can see the new lines, it's processing this in a lot of ways like it would process it if we ran it a line at a time. Okay, so what's happening is if we have a line in the page, if we have a line that just has one href on it, we're fine. If we have a line that has more than one, okay, well then we keep going out to the right. Where do we go? We just keep going out to the right. Well, we don't want to do that. And why is that? Well, that's because the kind of matching that we're doing so far is greedy. Okay? And what's happening is that when we're looking for the closing quote, okay, it goes as far as it can within that line to end with a quote. It's greedy. Okay, so it's using up everything that we want plus the space that we don't want plus media equals all that stuff that we don't want. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to do a non-greedy match when looking for this closing quote to make sure that it doesn't take anything more than just the value of the attribute href. Okay, let's give that a try. All right, so how do you do non-greedy matching? Well, you do it with a question mark. So we say, okay, this last quote should be non-greedy. All right, let's see how that works. Okay, let's call it adjunct.aspx. And still got trouble here. Let's take a look at this. Well, offhand, I'd say we're doing worse. Not better, but worse. Well, that's not good. And with a little thought, I figured out why. Do we have a greedy problem on this quote, or do we have a greedy problem on this any character? Turns out that our greedy problem is actually on the any character. Okay? So, the question is it going to continue to match on these any characters until it reaches the first quote, or until it reaches the last one on the line, and this any character plus will eat up every one? And it turns out that the thing that we don't want to be greedy is not the quote, but this any character expression. So we want period plus question mark. And I've got to tell you, you know, that doing this experientially is the way I usually do it. So I wish I were brighter, okay, but I'm not. So let's give this a run. And let's do it adjunct ASPX. This looks very promising. Well, look at this. Yep. Very nice. Well, doesn't look like we're getting any long lines. It looks like we're only going as far as the end of the href attribute, and we're cutting off with the final quote. Well, that looks good. You know, what's funny is that in the editor here for the text file, I touched this link to the iSchool, to the Illinois homepage, and it just opened up in my browser. It's pretty nice the way this tool works. Okay, now I'm almost done. Okay, I'm extracting everything I match. Okay, and that's not what I want. What I want to extract is just the things inside the quotes. Now here's where we can add the parenthesis meta characters. So let's just go back and let's say, okay, we match on the first quote, okay? And then the left paren says, okay, start extracting here, okay? And then right before we match on the closing quote, let's put in the right paren to say, stop extracting here. Okay. Looks good to me. Let's see if this gives us just what we want. So we're going to run. And let's go to adjunct.aspx. Oh, this is looking really nice. Now look at this. So those of you who've been working with a lot of HTML, you know, will say to yourself, oh, well, I've got two kinds of URLs here. I've got the ones that begin with HTTP. These are full across the net URLs. And then I've got these things that look more like file path expressions. And these are relative URLs. And then this one that begins with a pound sign is an anchor point within the page. And these are all proper targets using the href. And this, you know, again, if I really wanted to make sure that I had tested every possible thing here, I'd want to create a page that had just a handful of these on it and make sure that if I had 5, I got 5 and only 5. Okay, but we're playing here and we're having fun. Isn't this fun? So we're done with this. Let's just do the following thing. Let's make sure that it likes our code. Okay, so let's go up to the let's go up to the menu and go to code, inspect code, and just the current file. And it doesn't like ASPX. It thinks that's a misspelling, and it doesn't like hrefs. It thinks that's a misspelling. That's okay with me. I don't have a problem with either of those two. And let's shorten that up a bit, and let's give this one more run to prove to ourselves that we haven't broken anything there. And this is going to be adjunct ASPX. Okay, very nice. So it turns out that so what we have here is all the links. Okay, and what I'm going to point you to for your own exercise is the image. So these are the hrefs are attributes that occur on the HTML elements, the links. Okay, it turns out that this is a page that also has a lot of image links, because it has a picture of all of us adjunct faculty. And if we go down here a bit, we are going to see image tags. So we're going to find some image tags. Got to be here somewhere. Find me an image tag. It's always worth your life to find these things. That's why these tools are so good. Okay, so you're going to have to believe me. Oh, I can do a find. Sorry. So I'm just going to go up to the editor. I'm going to say that I want to do a find. So just a find. And I want to find an IMG. Okay, and there's an IMG. Oh, and there we go. Here's an IMG. So this is the start of an image. It has a class and it has a source. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is I want you to find the source attributes. So we've already found the values for all the hrefs, okay, in the tutorial. In the exercises, you're going to do the same thing for the values of all the sources. And the instructions will bear that out. And they're all here. They're hard to find with your eye, but they're easy to find with the tool. So, coming on back here, we see this wonderful output, and you'll be able to see the same thing pointing to the URLs for all of the images. And in those cases, some of them are going to be full across the net URLs that begin with HTTP or HTTPS, and some of them are going to be these relative URLs that simply point to files within the website file structure. All right, so have fun with this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.